Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our daily get-together live on Facebook at 10:30 in the morning every single day of the week, where we get together to talk about the latest headlines and stories and sometimes opinions that arise and that affect our lives here in Puerto Vallarta as an English-speaking community. If you're new to these broadcasts, my name is Paco, and we'd love to know that you're new. If you write the word new in your comment, it would give us the opportunity to welcome you properly. Also, know that everything that we talk about here is get put together in show notes that we make available shortly after each broadcast. So if you missed a link, if you missed a phone number or something that catches your eye, you can find it both at the Facebook broadcast. You can find it in YouTube, where these are also made available. And you can find it on the website where we publish them all the time. If you want to make sure that you don't miss a single broadcast, all you have to do is like the Facebook page, and you will get a notification just as we're getting started just as we're starting to broadcast every day. As always, it's always good to see wonderful faces and people that we know that are always around. It is great to see you every morning. You are part of my routine, as I hope I am part of yours. And this is something that okay, let's take a pause here. You know, some of your comments about what I wear are really sweet and kind, and I appreciate that. And then a couple of you have thrown a couple of pies on my face, and that doesn't bother me. It really doesn't, because bottom line is I'm happy with what I wear, and I'm happy with what I don't wear. But here's the thing, you know, when one of you throws a pie on my face, you are telling us that you are allowing other people to enter your home and throw pies on your face in your home. And even worse than that, every single time you throw a pie on my face, you are telling 163 other people that are connected live that it's okay to throw pies on my face. If that's the kind of community you want to have, you came to the wrong community. I'm very flexible, I'm very easygoing, but I do not want to invest my time nurturing a community where people think it's okay to throw insulting or hurtful remarks at one another. I hope we don't have to talk about this again. Let's jump into the news. Okay, everybody is wondering about what's going on with Governor Alfaro, who was supposed to make a big announcement yesterday, and he did. And what is interesting about this is that the big question in everyone's mind had to do with whether we would shut down completely all the time for 14 days rather, or whether we would simply change the target or change the parameters. And what happened is that the governor spoke. Indeed, he made a lot of insights with his team, and I have some notes that I've prepared so that I can address this properly. Let me take a quick look. First of all, he met with his group of economy and education, at Health, Economy, and Education, he said on his broadcast yesterday, and he continues to reiterate how balancing the health and economy needs of the state is essential. He also reiterated, that's such a difficult word to say in your language. He confirmed that we have been indeed taking botón de emergencia or emergency button decisions for 3 weeks with 2 indicators, one of them being hospital occupation and the rate of active cases per million inhabitants per week. As we've seen, this last number has been extremely close to the edge, close to 400 cases, at which point the governor would activate this emergency button. But here's the interesting thing. While he put his new committees to work, both the health committee and the economy committee and the education committee, they also started tracking what it is that how people are catching the disease and so forth and so on. So the governor revealed some graphics that are really interesting to look into and are really interesting to decipher. For example, on this line that goes up, we look at the number of active cases. And then this other graph here looks at hospitalization. So whereas hospitalization seemed to be climbing along with active cases in our state, it also shows that it hasn't increased in this latter part. So the governor attributed this, along with his team, to the fact that people realize the importance of taking the preventions, and of course realizes that through active testing and catching the disease early on its stage, they have prevented a lot of people from having to end in the hospital. So it's a good thing. We've seen that the number of cases has increased, and the number of hospitalizations has increased slightly, but not nearly as drastically as it was increasing before. So all is nice and good as far as this is concerned, but the bottom line, let me find my notes again. The rate of active cases for this week is continuing to increase. It's a number that starts from 0 every week. You know, the number that indicates this part of the graph starts from 0 every week. And of course, it's only Friday. Yesterday, he gave a report, and the number had not gone high enough to reach 400. It is estimated that it will get close to 400, and the governor hopes that it is not going to reach 400. But here's the thing. We know that if it reaches 400, we would shut down everything. But the next part of the insight that the governor and his team have come to conclusion of is the fact that deciding to shut down everything is not the smart thing to do. Why? Because on this other graph that we can take a look at here, we realize that only 30% of new cases are coming from work. In other words, people are not getting the coronavirus from going to work. So if everything was to shut down, it wouldn't make sense. It would only make sense if the number of people that are catching the virus are catching it at work. And that's not the case. Where are people catching it? People are catching it at home through a sick family member. They are catching it at social events. They're catching it out and about, but not at work. The next graphic that the governor shared is even more telling of this. You know, in the studies that have been made in the last 3 weeks show that 26% of people got the disease from a family reunion. 11% of them got the disease from receiving friends at home, you know, having gatherings with friends. So forth and so on. I mean, people, 13% caught it at a shopping center, 15% caught it at a get-together with friends, 17% caught it going to the bank, 19% caught it from using public transportation. So what does this mean? This means that people are not getting sick from going to work. If people were getting sick from going to work, then the governor would be more inclined to shut down work. But clearly the government does not have the intention to cut down the economic prosperity of the state when people are catching the disease elsewhere. So what is going to happen? Well, the most important thing that's going to happen is that the two parameters that would activate the emergency button remain the same. The hospital occupancy and the number of cases of active cases per million. If the button gets pushed, what is going to change is that the government is definitely not going to stop all activities. The government and Governor Alfaro was very clear by saying that they need to reevaluate how we are behaving out and about, how we are spending our free time. And he did not give any specific information. He said that people need to wait until Sunday to deliver more specific information about what's going to happen. So again, if I mentioned earlier that we were going to be looking at button pushing 2.0, then we're just going to have to wait until Sunday. And one thing that Governor Alfaro did say, and he has a very good point, is that other governments, other health officials, other people in charge have had to change their parameters in their cities, in their countries, in their regions. So our government, our state should be allowed to be able to do that. Let me take a quick look at your comments, starting with I.S. Shannon. I'm sorry, but this analysis is bogus because it is virtually impossible to trace where we picked this virus at. I'm sorry you think it's bogus. I'm just sharing the news, man. If you don't like it, go watch the news elsewhere. And I'm sorry that you think it's bogus because we're trying to communicate information here that is useful, actually. Let me see what else we have. Since we know that the state does... Q. Paco, since we know that the state does not take one, I can't make sense of your question, Ellen. Sorry about that. Any ideas of what the long-term goals or protocols are? I don't think so, Michael. Unfortunately, there is no way people can know what's going on. And you're right. It's very difficult to make long-term decisions about anything when the government seems to be changing the goalpost on a weekly basis. How about a poll of who thinks only certain places should shut down? Well, that would be an interesting poll to have, Sherry, but ultimately I fear rather that it would just add to the speculation. I don't know how useful that exercise would be, but we can have a poll if you want. Question, they don't take private hospitals into account in Vallarta and therefore do not see that the numbers are above what they have reported. So what's going on? Ellen, I continue to be perplexed at people that are just so obsessed with numbers. Numbers are important, but if a number is higher or lower, does that change how you have to behave today? Does that change how you have to take care of yourself or others? I really don't have an answer for you because numbers are not important to me. They are important because it sets a certain number of parameters, but ultimately I wake up every day thinking, okay, what do I have to do today to take care of myself, to thread through life with an acceptable risk, and to just do my part in helping the pandemic. We cannot do other people's part. Where did the family member get it to spread to the family? I don't have an answer for that, Suzanne. I'm just giving you the information as specific or as unspecific as the government delivered it. Boy, I'm not being very useful today, am I? How many people have no idea where they were infected? How sure are the people who responded to where they were infected? Again, I'm just being the messenger, Paul. I wish I had that information. Shucks, Shannon. How can we help you? That graph is bogus. People can't catch the virus. Matt Thompson, how can we help you? If you believe that the graph is bogus, what are you doing here? Go find news somewhere else. And I'm not being rude or anything, but I'm just sharing the information that I get from the headlines. And if you think that the graph is bogus and the graph is false information, maybe I.S. Shannon and Matt Thompson, maybe you have information that is more accurate and that is more useful. Maybe you'd like to come on the show and give us the information that you do have, because if you have information that is more accurate, we certainly would love to hear it. Any other questions? Da 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 da. Smile, Paco. Some days I do, Terry. Some days I don't, and that's just the nature of the beast. Uh, let's see. Awesome. Okay, so that's where we're at right now. Let me go back to my headlines and see what else we have to share. I want you to see the photograph of this guy. This guy was a municipality worker who got busted molesting a 10-year-old girl in his car in Pitillal. A few days ago, he has been fired. He is known as Luis Alonso NN. He was the chief of human resources in the Citizens Security Direction for the city of Puerto Vallarta. Arturo Dávalos and his team said, we will not tolerate acts that attempt against the integrity of minors. We will work with the state's prosecution office to make sure that everything will be followed to the T. And we have a statement from the prosecutor's office who says that the minor has been tested and there is no physical damage to her, but there is definitely psychological trauma to the fact that this 10-year-old was sexually abused by a government employee. So it is one of the things. It is one of the things that we're going to be following, and we're going to make sure that people that this man is prosecuted the way he should be. We were reporting just yesterday that our President Andrés Manuel López Obrador is hoping to continue with the Independence Day celebration in Mexico City. In Puerto Vallarta, the government has already stated that there will be no Mexican independence celebration on the 15th and 16th. So there will be no party, no charreadas, no nothing. We will have absolutely no parties to that effect. Then we get news from Bahia de Banderas, a municipality just north of Puerto Vallarta, where we know that an official decree came out to say that businesses that are non-essential have to close at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Well, a bunch of disgruntled business owners came to meet with the mayor of Bahia de Banderas, Jaime Cuevas, and they arrived to the meeting, and Jaime Cuevas didn't show up. The mayor of Bahia de Banderas didn't show up, and this particular article makes reference to the fact that both the mayor of Bahia de Banderas and the mayor of Puerto Vallarta, Arturo Dávalos, have this habit of sometimes not showing up when they have these kinds of uncomfortable meetings, and they only show up when they're going to have nice photographs taken. I certainly hope that's not true, but I certainly feel sorry for the situation going on in Nayarit, where obviously right now they are in a worse situation as far as COVID-19 is concerned than we are. So there we have it. Our city officials must be really, really busy to not show up to these kinds of affairs, because this other next information is absolutely mind-boggling. There is an official initiative to change the name of Puerto Vallarta's International Airport to Vicente Fernandez. And who is Vicente Fernandez? He's a singer. He is the father of famous crooner Alejandro Fernandez. Now, why would they do that? Beats the shit out of me. And it is not a joke. This was reported by Vallarta Ofina, who reported that several of the city council people have started an initiative that was sent to the company that manages the airport, called Grupo Aeroportuario del Pacífico. They don't want the airport to be called Gustavo Díaz Ordaz, who was a controversial president of Mexico. Now they want a singer to have his name used as the airport's name. Like we don't have anything else to be thinking about. Isn't that something? Los Cabos has implemented the obligatory use of face masks due to coronavirus. And this is going to be supervised by the National Guard and local police force, according to um, uh, municipal city mayor Armida Castro. Now, unfortunately, the language here is always unclear because they say it's obligatory. They don't say it's mandatory. So it is one of those things in which we don't know that the government will actually mandate this or not. A few days ago, Hugo Lopez Gatell said that that the government would not ever mandate face masks, but the book has yet to be written, as we have clearly seen. We had been tracking the health of Brazil's President Jair Bolsonaro, who tested positive to the virus a number of times. Now he's tested negative, but his wife has tested positive. Karma is a bitch. Before we walk into the news, the leisurely news, and the weather, let me take a quick look at your comments so that we can go on. Ellen, you're back. The numbers that the government reports and you try to tell us are perplexing. Why don't they take into account private hospitals? Ellen, I don't answer for the government. I just share information. I appreciate your questions, but sometimes I feel you're asking questions that we cannot answer here because they don't own to us. If you ask me, where am I going to go today, I can answer that question, but I cannot answer you or anyone how or why the government makes the decisions that they make. Dun, 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 dun. Thank you for that, Tony. I appreciate it. Let's see. Thank you for that, Lisa. Much appreciated. Okay, I'm almost there. That is so funny. Claudia from El Arrayan says, we don't have more important things to talk about. Claudia, I've been meaning to get in touch with you guys because I want to know if you guys are serving chiles en nogada. Chiles en nogada, of course, is a very important dish this time of year because it's one of the most patriotic dishes that we can enjoy. And I want to talk about chiles en nogada sometime in the near future. And of course, we don't want to talk about chiles de nogada if we cannot recommend an awesome restaurant where people can go and enjoy them. Oh, Paul has a fabulous suggestion. The Julie Too's International Airport. I would vote for that, of course. I love it. No, definitely I would not vote for that. I would not vote for that. You guys are too much. I hear you, Ellen, but, you're not the only one that is frustrated here. Everybody is frustrated. Thank you, Patty. I'm glad to have found you too. I hope you're enjoying your coffee. Now let's jump into the weather. "28 degrees in Puerto Vallarta feels like 34 degrees Fahrenheit. Feels like 34 degrees Celsius, 28 degrees Celsius. 83 degrees Fahrenheit. Humidity is not as high as yesterday, 85%. There's a 5% chance that we will get some precipitation. Whoa, I didn't mean to open that, but what I mean to do is give you the weather forecast. For today, it's going to be rain. We're going to expect some rain and humidity throughout the day. Tomorrow, it'll be humid and mostly cloudy through the day. And then on Sunday, it'll be humid and partly cloudy. So as you know, we are in the middle of the canicula. We don't get a lot of rain this time of year, but hopefully every little of rain that we get is wonderful to receive. Moving on to less important things, it is interesting that in the middle of the pandemic, trip advisors, Traveler's Choice, has determined that Puerto Vallarta is the fourth most popular destination in Mexico. The fourth most popular destination in Mexico. I love these reports that don't tell you who was number one, number two, number three, and number five. But yes, we are number 4. Yay! It's good to know that we are high in the choice of people's vacation destinations. Um, are there good times and bad times to take a nap? Absolutely. Apparently, NASA's Mars spacecraft is experiencing technical problems and has decided to take a siesta. Talk about an expensive siesta. I don't know that they're going to be able to bring it back to life or not, but apparently there was some damage on the aircraft, and the aircraft decided, you guys make up your mind, I'm going to take a nap. So we'll keep track of how things are going on for this important mission. Well, it's important to me. I like to follow them. What can I tell you? Now imagine that you're a sailor. You went to sail by yourself on your vessel around the world, and you return 9 months later in the middle of a pandemic. Well, this happened to a Canadian man called Bert Terhart. I don't know if this was spelled properly. He set sail from Victoria in October. He came back on July 18, was aware of COVID, but did not imagine how bad it was. So I invite you to take a look at this, and I invite you to tell me what you think. I know that I'm not the only one out there who has a thing for sweets. And of course, dessertfor2.com really came through today, and put out all these recipes for mini cakes, for 6-inch pan cakes, which are perfect for 2 people. Let me show you the link to all these recipes. There you go. These are all recipes for little mini personal cakes you can make at home if you live by yourself, if you want to indulge in some cake eating without buying a lot of cake. Now, this next one is going to be homework. There are these 4 opera singers from the state of Sinaloa: Jose Juan Cui, Jose Adan Perez, Carlos Osuna, and Jose Manuel Chu. So they are working together in a way similar to the way the 4 tenors work, or maybe El Divo works. And they've been touring around the country. And we know that when these groups tour together and they pick their repertoire, they take creative liberty with some styles, and sometimes include pop music and this and that and the other. Well, these 4 singers have decided to take one of the classic arias for male singers, which is O Sole Mio, and record it with, drum roll, a banda group. So now there is such a thing as a banda version of O Sole Mio, and I have to say, it is interesting. I know that we tend to think about banda music, and immediately we think about the next door neighbor who got a tuba for his birthday and does not necessarily know how to play it. But there is also great banda music that is well written, well recorded, well arranged, and I have to say, this is actually almost interesting to listen to. Now, I'm not going to play it live because we've seen what happens when we play things live on the show that YouTube doesn't like or Facebook doesn't like. But I am going to leave the link for you to explore on your own time. And the last thing that I want to share with you is just a follow-up thank you more than anything else. As you know, we're at the end of the month, and this fundraiser that my friend Logan has been spearheading to help the community of El Jorullo feed their horses has been very successful. And today is the day in which Logan goes to give Juan Caballos his monthly installment for to be able to continue feeding the horses. And Logan asked me to say thank you to this community, because this community has also been part of the people that have contributed to this cause. The numbers are great, and we are going to start getting together to determine a way in which we can help this community of activity providers better by empowering them with better Facebook, better this or that. I must say we have a soft spot for El Jorullo and the community members there, and we like to be able to help those small enterprises that don't have a large infrastructure to work with. Again, that is pretty much what we have for today. As always, I want to thank you for keeping me company. I want to thank you for your thoughts, your comments, your ideas, every single thing that I read from you. The good stuff and the funny stuff and the not so funny stuff helps me shape this community and helps me keep it safe, comfortable, nurturing, and important. So that's what I try to do on a daily basis. To that effect, I want to thank you, as always, for hanging out. And I want to thank you for supporting the community. If you found some information here that was useful, if you find some information here that inspired you to be a better person today or gave you a new idea, please consider supporting this initiative, which, as you know, is community-based. Thank you very much. Have an awesome weekend. Stay connected, stay healthy, and stay kind. Have a great day.